into another edition of the Gator Nation Football Podcast Film Review. I'm your host, James DiVirgilio, and on this episode, we'll take a look at Florida's defense versus Georgia's offense. Georgia came into this game without their best player on offense, Brock Bowers, and it certainly didn't seem to affect them. Despite the fact that Georgia had been vulnerable earlier this season, they were not vulnerable in this game as they manhandled Florida's defense from top to bottom for most of the game. Florida did have some solid performances from individual players. They also had some very forgettable performances from individual players. And we'll take a look at the scheme in particular and see, were these issues Florida had on defense scheme related? Were they full dog game? Was it personnel related? What may have led to this disastrous day in Jacksonville? As always, if you like this content, sub to this channel, like this video, follow us on social media. Drop us a dono on Patreon where you can support our efforts to bring you more of this type of content throughout the season. And check out our podcast where each and every Monday we bring you in-depth analysis on the Florida Gators. Georgia entered the game on a 34-game winning streak. Would they make it to 35? Yes. Yes, they would, largely in walkover fashion versus the Gators. Although round one did go to the Gators, every successive round went to Georgia throughout the rest of the game. Last loss for Georgia was versus Florida. Quite the run. Kirby Smart and the boys are on in Athens. And they're going to be on a great run in this game here on Saturday in Jacksonville. Right out of the gate, it's good to see how you might attack your opponent if you're Florida. And with Georgia, their run game coming in has been solid. Their passing game had been solid, but neither one of them had reached heights of previous Georgia teams just yet. No lows really to speak of for Georgia, but they hadn't necessarily hit all their highs. And their running game, again, had been fine. Nothing remarkable. In this game, it would actually wind up being fine. Certainly solid enough, but nothing spectacular versus the Florida team that we've seen give up more rushing yards versus other opponents. But early start here, we're going to see what you don't want to see, which is one, Florida's best defender. He's going to put a lot of good stuff on film in this game. Number one here, Princely, is going to win his battle, right? He's going to push back into line of scrimmage here. On the far side, we're going to be tie this one. We're going to hold line of scrimmage. We're getting blown out here significantly on the double team. When you do get doubled, your goal, of course, is to hold that line of scrimmage as much as you can. And we're also getting blown out here. So we're 0 for 2 in the interior part of the line. And that is what is going to lead to this game here. We're going to bring Miguel Mitchell down and fit as a split safety coming down, and then there's your run fit here, here, and here. Prince is going to get an arm on him, slow him down, and then tackle's made 4 yards later. So all in all, of course, not a great opening look if you're on defense and you watch your 2D tackles get pushed back, but only a 4-yard gain to start things off. Coming into this game, we knew that Florida has struggled with pre-snap motion. Of course, a lot of teams struggle with pre-snap motion, but Florida has especially struggled with pre-snap motion. When you run a split safety defense, things are far more complicated than running other systems. The advantage, of course, when you get better at playing it is you can do a lot more with it. So it does offer a very high ceiling. I think Florida in year one under Coach Ham is still, obviously, with a lot of new players, new to football at the college level, new to the SEC, and new to the system, have had some issues. That actually is not really surprising in the first year of install. And right here, a very simple switch. We're going to switch the H-back here, move the running back here, is going to cause confusion, at least what possibly may be confusion. As I said in every film review, I can't say for sure what Florida's defensive play call is here. What I can tell you is what happens. Number 1 receiver, number 2 receiver, number 3 receiver. 1, 2, 3. All right, what's going to happen here is this. We're going to get the number 2 receiver, going to go here. 1 receiver is going to run a skinny post right here. And then we're going to get this route here, right? This is Jaden Hill, who's been excellent for Florida on film as well. Jaden, you're going to watch him, is going to ID him here and then pass him off. He's passing him off to our safety. Presumably what Jaden is doing here is passing this off to our safety, number 10, Miguel Mitchell, who is then going to pick him up. Mitchell's going to be reading the number 3 release, and if 3 goes vertical, in theory here, the way Jaden Hill is playing it, he's going to pick him up. However, I cannot say for sure if that's supposed to happen or not, because over here, you wind up having Castell play man on the number 2 receiver's release, and you have Jason Marshall play man the entire way on the number 1. So is Jaden Hill supposed to also do that? Can't tell. He obviously doesn't have to. There's a lot of ways you can cover this, right? What happens here, though, is he does pass him off. So Jaden Hill thinks that's being passed off to Miguel Mitchell. He then is going to open up and ID anyone. You can see his head here that's coming across the formation and or in this flat, as he is going to be an underneath defender, and so is Shamar. 3-man rush, which actually is not a bad idea versus Georgia. In fact, Carson Beck and Georgia have been shredding all kinds of pressure all season long. So the fact that Florida comes out trying to drop 8 to see what happens is not a bad idea versus this Georgia team. In fact, I think it's probably a pretty good idea. I think you're going to see other teams down the road use this successfully against Georgia, especially that you probably may not fear all of their receivers if you're a more premier team on defense than Florida is right now. Regardless, plenty of time for Beck, and he's going to stick either throw here, right? The sad thing is he actually also has this throw. Jaden Hill would have been there, but he peels back, recognizing this is going to be open, and that is indeed open. This is quite a bit more open than it may look like on your screen here, because as soon as he releases him right here, he's past Jaden, Miguel Mitchell is way far back, even though he actually is IDing that route. He's IDing the route. He's way too far above that route. Does that mean that he thinks that Jaden Hill was supposed to stay on this and they were going to bracket him? It's possible. And then Shamar's responsible for the running back. It's possible. I can't tell you. What I can tell you is this receiver should not be this open. Either Jaden Hill is supposed to carry him, or if he passes him off, Miguel Mitchell has got to actually come up and engage him. Right? I think we've seen Florida's safeties, especially 10, Miguel Mitchell, I think really struggle in pass coverage. Your job as a safety, of course, is not just to backpedal your way and watch people catch passes at the 15-yard mark all day long. That is not your job. You need to engage, especially if someone's passing them off to you. You actually engage right downhill, and you play that aggressively. That is the point of that defense. Florida does not do it here. Again, I can't tell you exactly who's at fault. I can just tell you the concept Florida's running would have been sound. Had it been done either way, it could have been sound. Whether you drop him back here, put him here, you bring him down here, you allow Shamar to be free, then you wind up having Miguel come on him. Either way, it could have worked, but Florida didn't seem to do either one of those, and that leads to an early 2nd down and 6 chunk yards for Georgia. If you play Georgia and you are an inferior team talent-wise, which Florida is, Florida cannot match up with the talent that Georgia has along the offensive line. Florida's defensive line is a solid unit for Florida. I think it's one of the better units for Florida, but talent-wise, man for man, they do not match up with Georgia. Coach Ham knows this, and I think he does the right thing throughout this game in attempting to make sure he doesn't just line up man for man versus Georgia's zone blocking scheme in the run. If he does that, I think he's well aware they're not going to win that battle. So you're going to see on film multiple times where Florida is trying to get their defensive line to do twists and stunts and basically get into different gap fits so that it's harder for Georgia's linemen to ID who they are supposed to block. If you can slow down a stronger, more physical unit just even a half step or two, you might be able to slow down some of these plays. The only problem with running any kind of twist or stunt or a gap exchange is you run the risk, of course, of not getting there. And you're going to see Florida have issues with this in this football game. The play here is to have Sapp trade gaps right here. He's going to step right back, and then he's going to become your A-gap defender. And then we're going to come out here. The only issue you're going to see is we are going to get blown back off the ball right here with our tackle, and then Sapp's going to have to go through some traffic and make a hero tackle before this play is probably a touchdown. And that's the risk you have because you're bringing your other safety down and run fit off the edge here in the C-gap. This is all very sound if everyone does their job. It's not going to be sound when this happens. Right here, we got to get off the ball, and we have to engage this so we can allow our end to step around. We have got to engage this. It's got to be engaged quickly and aggressively, and it is not. Notice what happens here. Now we're in trouble, right? We've stemmed the line of scrimmage. Sapp's got to get over here. Next move's important, and we're going backwards. Notice the motion of the helmet. We're going backwards. Now Sapp has got to come around this, and he's got to get around there quickly. Now he's going to get engaged a little bit. Now he's not getting there quickly, and now we have a wide open A-gap. Now, obviously, you can rewind the film here and say, well, look, James, what if you had just instead slid him into the A-gap? Well, you can do that for sure, right? You can certainly do that, and Florida's going to do that on other plays as well. The thought here is you want to catch him, especially on 1st and 10, a safer down in the run, to get a better run fit where you might be able to get some penetration because you don't expect to be able to penetrate on your own. You're trying to help your defense get some penetration into the backfield because you probably can't just line up and do it. And in this case, Sapp does eventually right here make it through to the hole. and he makes a shoestring tackle literally, or that is probably a touchdown. So it winds up going on the books, for a 5-6 yard gain. Could have been complete disaster. However, if we win with Cam Jackson up front right here, and he wins right away, and he does his job here, Sapp's able to get straight away into this A gap, and this play looks awesome. What you'd see here is a Florida defensive end flying into the hole and hitting this play for about a 1 yard gain. So that's the difference, right? That's why football is such a great sport. It's 11 working as one, and everyone has to do their job. But the idea of moving your defensive linemen, given Florida's defensive line matchup versus Georgia's offensive line, was sound. That is the right idea. I think Coach Ham is doing the right thing in this football game, even though Florida's defense obviously got shredded in most statistical categories. It was not a good day at the office, right? Most points given up since 1982, a whole bunch of other stuff that's not good. But the idea here that you're seeing and you're going to see is a sound idea if you do not think you can just line up man for man with your opponent. 2nd and 3 on this play. I'll pick up the pace. We've seen it a lot. I want to show it to you because Florida has been very successful at stopping these east-west screens. Florida a little late here in their communication. This is going to slow this play up. Florida a little late here to communicate. Why? You can't see it here, but Georgia's come out of a small shift, and Florida just a little slow to figure this out on the back end. These are two freshmen ironing out what's happening. They get it right, and now the ball is snapped. Instead of Castell probably starting right about here, he's a little late. He's coming down into the window. Again, if he starts 2 yards ahead, he's here. If he's here, it's a 0 yard gain, which Florida has generally been successful at. Jaden Hill's going to do his job as he always does, right to the outside, pin him here, leave a free, unblocked man to make the tackle, and we're going to miss, right? Not going to get that tackle right away, but is that a sound defensive play alignment? Yeah, you better believe it. The communication's got to get better. True freshman. But the design of this play defensively is in fact completely sound, very good. Florida, once again, is going to have an unblocked man coming downhill to make this tackle. We don't, and Georgia gets another 2nd down conversion. Georgia going to start Florida in a spread look here, then go back into a bunch set. 2 running backs. Florida going to stay heavy here, aggressive, expecting a run, and they're going to get it. They toss to the right. Right away, we get good flow. Got to set the edge. Got to get out here and set the edge. Let's get these guys flowing. Make sure there's no cutback lanes. Then we got to flow. We got to flow. We got to flow. Let's watch Jaden Hill again. Jaden Hill, a lot of good stuff on film in this game for him as well. He's going to get outside of Ladd McConkey, which is an A-plus job by him. He's going to set the edge. Because he sets the edge, winning his one-on-one. Now we got to get a cutback lane. It's going to leave an unblocked Scooby, who's your linebacker, to come in here. There's Shamar, and be able to lay the wood and take this for a loss. Take this for a loss. Instead, Scooby comes in with a one-arm, sort of flailing, dead fish tackle. Not a good look there, and that goes for a pickup of 2 yards. But scheme on that play was perfect. Florida ready for that play. You love to see that become a TFL instead of a small gain, but in position. Good coaching puts players in position. I know a lot of you watching this might be thinking maybe Coach Ham's not a good coach. Well, time will tell. But I think the schemes that he largely draws up are very sound. And if you imagine Florida with more experienced and or better players, both of those things together, some of these plays you see on this film might look a bit different. 2nd and 8, one of the fun things about coming out of a bye week is that each team, and Florida, of course, already with 7, has benefited from game planning your opponent rather perfectly on the first drive. And your opponent will then go on the sideline and kind of figure out, okay, they're attacking us this way. Same thing's happening for Georgia. Georgia knows that Florida will use Princely, Florida's best defender sometimes, to cover either the H-back here, sometimes the H-back here, or sometimes the running back on certain kind of what you call them like flat plays here, or even having to run up the sideline with them depending on what they catch Florida in, meaning you might be able to get him on a 2-on-1, which is exactly what Georgia does. Note the formation they're running here. They're running the pistol formation, something Billy loves. And then Princely is going to be reading this exchange. He's going to read this exchange. If the handoff occurs, he wants to come in here and fill this seed gap. If it does not occur, he's got to get back and play pass defense. They're going to run off the corner here, and this play is set up just for him. Carson Beck, RPO action here, right? Really good play design, is just reading Princely. He's going to read Princely. If Princely stays flat, he's going to pull this ball back and hit this over the top. That is exactly what's going to happen. It's why RPOs are dangerous. We talked about how Georgia will actually use RPOs at perhaps a more significant clip than fans across the country realize. And there is your RPO. Keep this ball. He knows he can't win if he's flat-footed like this. And now all Carson Beck has to do is deliver a good ball, which he actually does not, right? He is really wide open. And Beck cooks this one a little bit. And a phenomenal catch here. Phenomenal grab by number 4, of course, again. Georgia not playing with Bowers. Felt like that could have been a plus matchup for Florida. Georgia's main engine was Bowers. Wasn't there, didn't matter. Nice grab there from number 4. They moved the sticks again on second down. A nice play design to get Florida in a look that was advantageous to Georgia. All right, 1st and 10 now. Georgia driving. You're hoping Florida can hold them to a field goal at this point. You got Jason Marshall at the bottom of your screen, a guy who we've said on film review has not been putting stuff on film review that a first-round pick or, in this case, Florida's most talented, at least high school rating-wise, defensive players should be putting on film. Here is a matchup versus Georgia's often overlooked but very solid route running Ladd McConkey, who had a field day in this game, averaging 20-plus yards per catch and could have been more if they didn't miss on one other deep play to him. But here, this is really inexplicable for me for Marshall. And I think he knows this, right? He's going to watch this film and know this. Just, you cannot let this happen. He's starting right away with outside leverage. Meaning, of course, if you watch this channel for a while, meaning we want to force the receiver to the inside. We want to wall all this stuff off. This is a no-go zone for Ladd McConkey. We're not going to let you in there. I'm telling you before the snap that I'm going to steer you in here. I have help with the safety. I am not letting you come out here, right? And we've seen Jason Marshall do this on more than one occasion. It's really frustrating for me because this is basic cornerback play. Do your job. Don't be a hero. You are not manned up on this guy all the way over here where you get to do whatever you want. It's not that kind of look right now. You are literally saying, I have help on the inside. I'm going to use my help. I'm going to wall it off. Do your job. And let's watch right away, bottom of your screen. First step is to the outside. We're looking good. Everything is good. I don't care what the heck he does here. You better not let him beat you this way. I don't care how many shakes he moves. I don't care what he does. He better beat you to the inside because that's where you want him to go. Instead, Jason Marshall, right here, is going to take some bait. There he goes, right? What are we doing? What are we doing? We can't. You cannot do this. This cannot happen. Cannot happen. Cannot happen. No, never. Cannot happen. There is no help over here. The defense is not set up for this. The scheme that Florida has is not built for this, not on this particular play. This is not going to work. On top of that, here we also have a wide open hitch receiver. This play is really working, exposing Florida again early on, largely because Florida, running the split safety, just doesn't quite have. He's a freshman, I want to pause for 1 second and say if you're a freshman safety, you're learning A, the playbook, B, the complexities of playing a split safety, C, a new opponent every single week, and D, to play with speed and come downhill and start to actually rob things, start to recognize tendencies. That takes time. You don't just do that as a freshman, right? But most importantly, Florida on 1st and 10 is willing to give you this hitch route. Safety's going to come down and make a tackle. That's fine. That's the play that you get. That's what we're giving up. We are literally setting up. Coach Ham puts him in the right position and says, look, don't let this guy get out here. Make sure he stays in here from this look. If that happens, it's a different story. Instead, right away, he beats us to the inside. Carson's going to open up. He wants the home run shot first. He now sees, okay, great, my receivers got leverage. I have all this beautiful green grass over here. All I need to do is ID the safety, which you can't see on your screen, and make sure he's not shooting over there to that wide open, beautiful green grass I see. And there you go. Okay, he's not. Now I know he's not. I feel comfortable. I'm going to make sure I deliver this ball right there. Right there. Right? Now, the only reason this throw can be made is Jason Marshall was not supposed to allow him to go to the outside. So because he allows him to go to the outside, there's this window created, grass to throw to, and Ladd McConkey picks up a first down for Florida. And again, if you want to win a game like this versus Georgia, you need your most talented player to play well versus the opponent's most productive player with Bowers being out. It's a matchup you have to win. Obviously, Florida lost this matchup significantly, and that certainly tells part of the story on defense. 1st and goal, the same concept that we saw work earlier. Sorry, not really work earlier with Sapp. We're going to work now with Princely. Just like this. Little exchange here, little stunt. Watch it in action on 1st and goal. One thing I like about how Florida plays defense this year in the red zone is they do play relatively aggressively. They dare you to pass, and they try to stop the run. That is fundamentally correct, in my opinion, in the red zone. I appreciate that, and this is the advantage of doing what we talked about, moving your linemen when it works correctly. All right, right here, we have number 7, Chris McClellan, is going to come in here and do his job. Watch this. Take this guy out, right? Notice how we are now behind the line of scrimmage. That allows Princely to not even get engaged right here, which is the reason why you do this stuff. And then immediately, look at this, here you go, into the gap, right? He's B gap or A gap. He's there on either one of them. And now the running back is stopping all of his momentum. And Princely is going to put him down at the blue line, just like we talked about, for a no gain. That same thing could have happened on the sat play, but you got to execute. 11 working as 1, Florida does here, and gets a stop. All right, second and goal. If it worked once, maybe it'll work twice. What do you think? Here we go again. Boom. Into the A gap. Princely. Another tackle. Bringing up third down. Again, that is a sound concept versus a zone blocking team. Florida has to do something to overcome the size and power disadvantage they are at. It's one way to do it. They get 2 stops in a row at the red zone. 3rd and 3, Florida's defense not ready for this play, does not know what's happening. In fact, at the bottom of your screen down here, Coach Ham is going nuts, jumping up and down, trying to call a timeout that he does not get off. He's trying and trying and trying right now and trying right now and trying right now and trying right now. Does not get time off. However, the good news is Florida almost plays this correct, with the exception of Wingo, right here, 15, who looks over to ID, right? There's your number 1, there's your number 2, looks over to ID, the first inside breaking receiver, which he does, and then he needs to run with him. Unfortunately, he does not. So he actually just goes over here, and Lab McConkey, Georgia's hero, what a name for a Georgia receiver, is going to be wide open for a very easy touchdown. Thankfully, Florida's hero, Princely, is going to wind up getting here and moving Carson off the spot. One of the few pressures Florida would get in this entire football game comes here from Princely winning a one-on-one battle right there, moving him off the spot, and that forces an early throw and not a touchdown throw to Lad McConkey. So a win to round 1 for Florida. They have 7. Georgia has 3. Good start to the game, so to speak. They bend significantly but don't break. But they had some highs and they had some lows. Perhaps Florida will get it right on the second drive. Of course, we know things are not going to go right for them, right? But at this moment in time, you sit down with your boys in the sideline and say, look, you know what? It wasn't great. Here's what they're doing. Here's what we feel good about. Let's see if we can clean a few things up execution-wise. When you play Georgia, you've got to stop their east-west throwing game. It's one thing that makes them dangerous. Florida's going to get a little bit of a gift here on a ball that is perfectly thrown by Carson Beck. Here, Florida's going to bring Jaden Hill on not a nickel blitz, because really Florida's only going to send 4 guys here. So we're going to simulate pressure this. Only going to bring 4, and they're going to wind up throwing right here this screen, which is going to be, partially fortuitous. Georgia actually has a route here that, again, if you were an NFL team, it's just different, obviously, at the next level. You would see this space and you would give your receiver almost always an option route to just sit here. It's one reason why a guy like Travis Kelce gets so open, is he's going to read the play as well when he opens up. And as soon as he sees a vacating scenario like this, his route is actually here, which Florida is covering by design, but you would just sit there and be wide open. Anyway, I digress. On this play, it's not the route, so Carson Beck opens up and knows that although he's going to have tons of grass in here to throw to, his route's actually taking him over there to where Florida's defense is. That's not the play he wants, so he's going to dump it down. Here, that's what happens. Shamar is moving over here to make this play happen, and hands in the face right here from Jaden Hill. Excellent job. Get to the quarterback, get in the throw window. That does not affect Carson Beck at all. That's an absolute dot right in his hands, right behind the blocker, and it goes for a drop. But again, when you play Georgia, if Georgia's going to lose this year, it's going to be to a team who stops their east-west passing game and forces them to make contested passes that are somewhat vertical. Now, Georgia made a lot of uncontested passes vertically versus Florida. That is not a recipe for success. However, I do believe teams are going to challenge them down the road to make some of those passes in different windows, because a lot of their passing does rely on east-west movement. And so far, Florida's been fine on the east-west pass game. 3rd and 4, big chance for Florida to get a stop here, get the ball back, equalize round 2 with a stop and a stop. And I don't love what I see on this play. Here is the former Georgia product, Jalen Kimber, out here at corner. Everything else about this play is going to be solid. I have a lot of questions about what happens right here. I can't give you answers. I can only give you questions. Doesn't make sense to me. Florida is what looks to be playing man defense. It is 3rd down and 4. You know that Georgia is a prolific 3rd down conversion team at 59% entering this game. You know they complete a lot of short to intermediate passes. Feels like you want to be aggressive as the underdog here and not give so much cushion, which is what we're giving here, because if you're going to bring, especially what Florida's bringing here, Florida's bringing 6. A lot of pressure. If you bring 6, you expect to get there at least in a relatively short time frame, which means you would think you want to be a lot closer to the receiver than what you see here. We can't see either of Florida's defenders on our screen, although Castell will eventually close. There you go. Castell's close enough to close right here, right? He would have at least challenged that throw had the ball been thrown there. He still has this right now if he wants it. He can still complete a first down right here. He can still do it to 4, but at least he's going to be closer. He should be much closer than he is. I don't like the depth that we have here, but I hate this because Kimber has absolutely no chance to defend this, and his first step is backwards, right? 3rd and 4, first step is backwards. You're bringing 6. 3rd and 4, first step is backwards. Again, I don't know what is being told to Kimber here. I'm not assigning blame. I'm only observing the fact that that is not a good mixture of a strategy here. If you're going to bring this many guys, you certainly can't have this. Georgia runs a little mesh route. Nice work. Good mesh. Like that play. If you're in man, it's going to work. If you're going to sit far off in zone, it's also going to work. That's why the mesh is such a good play, a staple of the air raid offense. And now Kimber, who is just so impossibly far away, cannot make this stop on 3rd and 4. And in fact, doesn't even touch him until he's 11 yards down the field and then does not tackle him, but sort of windmills him out of bounds. That is poor play, no matter how you slice it. And again, Kimber, come on the comments here and say, hey, look, that was my job. They wanted me to sit off in soft cushion and give that play up. Perhaps. Questions there are if you're giving that play up and you're going to bring pressure, then you're just going to give the first down up. You're just hoping the team's going to run all verticals there. They're not going to run some sort of shallow cross concept. So I don't have answers as to whether that's a coach ham design there, it's a cornerback fail or something else, but certainly it's not right. Right, not right. And that leads to a very easy conversion for Georgia. All right, almost the end of the first quarter, 7-3 Florida with the lead, 2nd down and 10. Florida's defense hanging in there, right? Hanging in there. Let's get a good play here. Jason Marshall, Florida's most talented quote-unquote player on defense, according to the recruiting services. You need this guy to have a good game. In a game like this, simple motion across is now going to change how Florida's defending this. Motion across here. Miguel Mitchell's going to come up. Castell's going to come down and pick up the motioner. Florida's playing man defense, which means Marshall's going to pick up the aforementioned Ladd McConkey here. Let's see how well that works out for Florida. Play action. Again, Marshall knows he's playing man here. He's not playing zone. He's locked up on McConkey. He's got to play him. Gotta play him. Next thing you see on your TV screen, of course, is he looks pretty open. That's because he is. And then Marshall's going to overrun this. And then Ladd McConkey turns around and walks in the end zone. Yeah, that doesn't look great. We are going to get the all-22 look here that I can show you thanks to the TV broadcast. If you're new to the channel, I do have access to the all-22. I can always see it. I relay to you what's on it. Unfortunately, I cannot broadcast it for you per the all-22 rules. All right, here we go. Motion across. Good work there by Gary on the telestrator. Not me, Gary. Now we pick him up, just like we talked about. That's me right there. Right now, again, you are man on him. You're man. You do not have zone help. You do not have Miguel Mitchell helping you down in here. You're man on him. He's your guy. I'm not sure what we think we're doing here with this, but now we're going to try to catch up with separation. Well, we're so far off the route, we're at his mercy. Bam, simple instep. Carson Beck anticipates it, sees all the space that we have here. Meanwhile, let's look at 10, Miguel Mitchell, who's going to drop back here, and he presumably, again, don't know the rules, right? It's possible Florida could have this be a bracket. They could say if he motions across, we're going to basically play this 2, right? We're going to play this 2-on-1 on him. On the 2 receiver here, we're going to leave a linebacker. There's so many ways that you can do this. He could be reading the number 2 release here, and he could be on him. I can't tell you. All I can tell you is what he actually does, which is right away, he's going to read the release of 2. I want you to watch this. He's going to watch the 2, which is what he typically be doing, number 4, and he's going to go over here. So now he knows, okay, it doesn't matter anymore. Now my job is either to bracket here and rob this, or to drop back and play the deepest. It's going to depend on Florida's rules. We see Castell come down nicely, get a little reroute here, a little help his buddy on his way to 87, and now you see Miguel Mitchell IDing the far side. Again, this is also a way that he can handle this. He can be picking the far side 1 on any post route, right? There's just too many ways to how you're going to handle this split safety coverage. I'm just kind of naming a few for you. It looks like based upon what he's doing is he is going to be doing the latter. He's looking to rob this. He thinks it's going to be his deepest man. He's going to leave his number one corner, who's on a MIG probably, man everywhere he goes, to cover McConkey, except that's not going to work out. And then you're going to see Mitchell here kind of do something pretty inexplicable. He maybe doesn't ever locate the ball because he's just going to kind of cruise out here. Like, let's watch him for a second on this play. He's going to take off out here and just kind of ride out, like avoid the receiver. Okay, I'm cool. Play's over with. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not. So that's a bad look too. You just saw Florida stop Georgia on the 5-yard line. Let's at least stop the bleeding here. But Marshall gets cooked. He's cooked. I mean, he's cooked bad. Simple shift right across, cooked super bad, and then even cooked worse right there, and that's it. So if you're Jason Marshall and you want to get to the league, you got to start putting better stuff on film. That's just the reality of film. If you're Miguel Mitchell and you want to keep playing in a Florida uniform, you got to start putting better stuff on film. That's the bottom line, I think, of what we're seeing so far early in this game. After Florida gets stopped on 4th down, which perhaps was the play of the entire game with that review sequence and then the play that Florida called and then getting stopped, Florida's defense back on the field hoping to hold Georgia to a field goal. So far it's been a field goal and a touchdown. You got to do something here on the short field to help out as best you can. Florida's motioning over, looking like they are in a man defense. And then Florida going to play very aggressively here. Again, you're undersized. You can't just line up man for man. You're going to try to do some things here, maybe guess some tendencies. We're going to slant into this outside zone window here on purpose. Going to move ourselves right out of that B gap. And Scooby, theoretically, is coming down into it. Double team is here. We're going to get a peel here to come block Scooby, which if you're a lineman here, you love this, right? This is going to be the center, and you're thinking, this is my day. They vacated this gap. I get to peel off this and just smoke an undersized linebacker. It's what I want. What's confusing here is how Florida chooses to do this regardless. Scooby probably should come down here and fill this gap quickly so that you wind up putting the run maybe into this gap. Either way, this doesn't look good because Florida should have theoretically one more defender coming down in the box on this play, especially if you're going to slant this hard. You would think you might have a fit defender here in the way of a safety coming down more quickly. That is Castell. Either way, this is your fit defender actually. So we got to get this play wrong. Feels like the call just doesn't go against it. It doesn't go with us here. Get creased. There comes Castell down in the box, which is nice. Now we got to limit the damage. We've seen Castell, a freshman, trying to improve his tackling here. Let's see if he can make it work. He cannot. He does slow him down enough for Shamar James to then make the tackle. But that is a first down from a first down on a running play. Not what you want to see. All right, 1st and 10 for Georgia. Again, Devin Moore in down here. Kimber up top here. Marshall taking a break. I think rightfully so. It's something you want to look for on film with your DC, with Coach Ham. What does he do if you're having a guy struggle? How long do you leave him out there, right? Do you try someone else in a game like this? Well, he's trying someone else. He's trying to shake it up a little bit and see what happens. And Georgia says, let's try out this matchup right here. It looks like Florida's going to sit in a single high. Let's take advantage of that. And Florida's ready for this. Right away, we're opening up. And Kimber's going to simply just take away this deep route, stay right on top of it. Carson Beck just going to keep looking at it, keep looking at it, keep looking at it. Something we talked about on film as well with Carson. I think this will cause Georgia potentially some issues later. He does lock on to his primary receiver on a lot of these plays and doesn't really come off of him. Had he come off of him to his check down, this would have been a touchdown. Florida blows this assignment here, and nobody is on this check down. He's going to wind up being completely wide open right here. Read this out. Right now, you know you don't have that if you're Carson. No chance you have that. Florida's way on top of that. Immediately come down to a second look, which is right here, which I think he probably does, and then go to your check down. Don't wait. He's kind of waiting. Maybe something's coming open. Maybe something's coming up. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to escape out. Don't escape out. Go to your check down. That's what it's there for. Instead, tries to escape. He is completely by himself. At this point in time, puts his arm up to signal, hey, I'm wide open. But then Florida's going to get almost a sack. That's their almost sack. They had 4 tackles for loss. Almost a sack right there. Close. Sets up 2nd down and 10. 2nd and 11 now for Georgia. Again, just hold Georgia to a field goal for the defense. Carson Beck going to make an audible. This is going to be a very, very good audible. Quick check here. Slide the running back over. Switch the play. I believe what he did there is simply just flip the play. That's my best guess. But again, I don't know for sure. But what I do know is Florida's in man. Man. Going to play too high. Right? Here's your run fit defender coming out of that. And it's not going to work well. It's not going to work well because Sapp, a consistently solid guy for Florida, is not going to be able to set the edge because he is going to get manhandled and just thrown here onto the interior, which is not where you want to go. Watch this right here. Runs opening up to the side. He's going to bounce it. The reason he can bounce it is we lose complete control of the edge. Now he's trying, you can see he's trying to lean to the outside. So right idea. You'd much rather see a player have the right idea. Last year we saw Florida seemingly have no idea how to set the edge. Florida's been a good edge-setting team this season. But right here, look at this. A hand on back. Is that legal? I don't know. Then he gets on the shoulder pad, and then he just redirects him, like a little puppy. That is strength. Again, if you're the DC, this is why sometimes you can't just line up one-on-one because you got an issue out here. And again, Sapp is not supposed to play this spot, right? He's doing an admirable job for Florida, but Florida, an SEC team with a lot of tradition and history, just doesn't have all the pieces right now. And then there you go, just completely owned by the right tackle. Well, if you set the edge here, that's going to give Scooby time to get out here, and this goes for nothing. If you don't set the edge and you get owned one-on-one by a blue-chip offensive lineman, which every single lineman Georgia has is one, lots of talent there, this happens, and now Scooby's a little late to get there. Scooby can't catch him. We're off to the races. Where's your safety? Want to come down and make a stop here. Not going to get there. There's Miguel. There's Jaden Hill. They're both trying to get over there. Not going to get there. That's going to be 6 the easy way. 6 the easy way, right? And again, got to control the edge, but is that a fault of effort? No. The guy just got beat. That's football sometimes. That's where you got to stare it in the face and say, look, that was coached up correctly. You have a linebacker on that play side. You've got a DN trying to hold the edge. What do you do if you can't hold the edge physically? You got to cover both run and pass. Georgia's a balanced offense. They'll attack you either way. It's 2nd and 11. Could be a pass. If it's a run, you got to hold the edge. Florida does not get it done. Winds up being a touchdown. A Georgia team that's defensive line was struggling to get sacks, was not getting a lot of sacks. Registers a sack, a strip sack, and then a short field here for Georgia. So all of a sudden things are unraveling in Jacksonville for Florida. It was a close game, a competitive game, it felt like, for the first quarter, and the doors are being blown off in about 5 or 6 minutes of game time. Now Florida's defense back on the field again. Now an even shorter field. They're on the 10-yard line. Are they going to be able to hold Georgia to a field goal this time? Well, they're certainly going to offer more resistance. Again, I like this look from Florida. We're going to play man up here, play aggressive versus the run on the interior here, and try to take away what Georgia wants to go for. Georgia going to run an inside zone. Princely, a guy who's just been fantastic for Florida, does all the right things, perfect spacing, perfect timing, read this out first, get the right read, and go make a play, is going to get in there and make a play. Couple of yards, you'll take that all day long, drive the running back, and put him down. Excellent play there from number 1. Empty set here. Florida going to wind up playing cover 1 man. There's your safety. There's your rat, your free defender. It's going to be Shamar. Man. I like the look here on 2nd and 8 from Florida. I think this is the right way to go. And then a nice play call from Georgia as well. Good play call here. We know you're in man. We're not passing it. We're going to play safe. We're going to take our center, who's going to be unoccupied, and come in here and get a block. We know you have a free defender, but we're hoping you're not going to react in time, and we are going to score. If Carson Beck's a better athlete, they do score. Running, of course, athletically. They do score. Shamar sets him up nicely here, though. Takes a step to the inside, makes Carson come this way, and actually kind of traps him into what he wants, and then makes a tackle right there, bringing up 3rd down and short. All right, 3rd and 2. Florida's going to play this really well. Motion here, fake, which they're not going to go for. Princely going to kick out here to stay wide and set the edge, allowing free defender to come through in here. Chris McClellan's going to win in here on this toss play. Here's Devin Moore. There's your line of scrimmage. There's Chris McClellan. And there's the edge being set by Princely. Really good stuff. Devin Moore breaks down, forces this play back to his help and Chris McClellan, and then drives and holds him short. So again, Florida now, nice defense, more fired up as he should be, played that perfectly. They bring up a 4th down, a chance for Florida to gain perhaps some momentum and stay in the game. 4th and 1, really, not 4th and 2 here. 4th and 1, 4th and 2 to the goal line. Can Florida get a stop? Here's Princely right here at Princely, a guy who's played really well. Georgia has a nice scheme for this setup. Princely is going to deny the initial gap they want, which is right here, but they are going to be willing to run out right here, right? Either way, 2-way gap in the zone. And Princely is going to drive the right tackle pretty significantly into this area, which is what you want to do. But Georgia's going to use their tight end to just kind of assist him down this area. In fact, Georgia's counting on him to sort of win this battle, and Georgia's okay with then playing essentially 3-on-2. And this is where, if you're Florida, you need to win. They're willing to take Princely out as a chip and say, let's just remove him from this. If he happens to dive out here, great, we'll take this right up the A gap. But if he doesn't, we've got a two-way ability here, and we like our matchups, again, 2v3 right here, knowing where we're going. And right here, if you have Shamar squeeze this in, I think if you're Shamar, the best thing you can do here is strike this block into this gap. You want to do all you can to give him the longer path to the end zone, right? You don't want to give him the shortest path to the end zone. Shamar engages, kind of gets stuck right here. Now notice where Shamar's body leverage is. He's trying to drive him into this gap. Not going to work out. He's going to shoot right through it and score a touchdown. So again, I think if Shamar is following basically Princely's going to come in here and drive this in, and Shamar drives this in here, you might bounce this. Take a look at where Bryce is. Bryce Thornton is right there. You might bounce this right into this, and that may make a difference. Instead, Georgia winds up scoring a touchdown, putting themselves up 24-7, and it feels like essentially the game is, for all practical purposes, over at this point in time for Florida. Of course, it's not, but within 5 to 6 minutes of game time, it goes from a very close game to the doors have simply been blown off. All right, 26-7, Tarajda Mitchell now, after a safety from Florida, enters the game. Blocked punt safety, could have been worse, could have been a touchdown. Game literally hanging in the balance, almost certainly feeling over, but you know what? You still got to make a stop here. It's time for the defense to get their first stop of the day. Let's watch Jaden Hill. I love this guy on film. Just does a lot of stuff right. Defend the guard tackle counter, the dreaded guard tackle counter. We have seen this eat up Florida, especially in the past. We saw Florida struggle versus this year. One thing I like about Coach Ham is you want to see if things look different. Is the team learning? Well, certainly Jaden Hill is. This guy plays good football. How do you stop this? We talked about this before. Imagine you are bowling. He's a smaller guy. He's coming in versus two huge guys. He is the bowling ball to these pins. He needs to knock them into this traffic, and look at what he does quite masterfully. He pretty much blows that up. He single-handedly ends the freight train that is the guard tackle train. There is no more train. There is no more lead blocker. This is done. Look at this. We have won. Outside defender on the edge. We're golden. We're all over this play. It's 1st and 10. We're getting a stop. The scheme is great. The play design is great. And then this happens. What is that? How did he gain all those yards? What happened? Well, what happened is a spot shadow here on the Ohio State product, Tarajda Mitchell. He is going to come in and not do his job. This is your outside defender. His job as a linebacker to fill the gap they, of course, want to go through originally in a guard tackle counter. And if he does that with Jaden Hill knocking these guys out, we would basically be waiting for him. Here's your run fit here, and here is your run fit here. Instead, he overruns it. We have two guys in the same gap, as we've seen before from Mitchell, unfortunately, for a guy who's a veteran player, does not seemingly do veteran things. And then there we go. Play should have been stopped for nothing. Instead, it goes for a first down from a first down. All right, 3rd and 5. Georgia scored every single time they've had the ball, including when they didn't have the ball, on a safety. So not a great start here. Can Florida get off the field one time? Going to switch. Notice the switch here. Switch to handle this 3-by-1, this bunch set. Of course, all Georgia is doing is getting man-to-man. Now, it tells you a lot about a team with who they attack. We have seen a lot of teams feeling very comfortable attacking, again, Florida's most talented defensive player on paper. This is what they're engineering up. They could have done this in different ways, but they wanted this. This is the play they want on 3rd down and 5. They feel the best about this play. It does tell you what other teams think about Jason Marshall, as we are not even looking anywhere else. We're only going to open up and look here because we know that Florida is playing single high, and we just have to hit this throw. There's your throw. It is not anywhere near the receiver. Jason Marshall has good defense on that one, and that is going to lead to Florida's first stop of the game. That does not lead to points. Of course, they did get a stop in the red zone when it led to a field goal, but this time they're not going to actually give up any points. First and 10 for the Dogs. I don't know what Florida's rules are for this one either on the back end. What I do know is something is not right with how Florida chooses to handle this. Here is Ladd McConkey. He's going to run just a simple post route. Simple post route. And Georgia has struggled this season to hit some open vertical receivers. They did not struggle largely in this game, but they are going to miss a free shot here. And in fact, they probably had 2 shots. They're going to get this action here that would have been open. The only reason, though, that's open is Castell is going to see Carson Beck, again, stare down this target, as we said he does, and he sort of vacates the premises. So it's not realistic yet, based upon what we've seen on film on Carson, to expect him to look at this guy and then snap back into the backside seam yet. He's not there yet. So I think if you're Castell, you're probably just moving towards what you think is the most probable throw. And this throw is open. Make no mistake about it. It is open. Based upon how Florida is defending this, Miguel Mitchell is looking at the number 2 receiver, not the number 1 receiver, which once again means Dacian Marshall is man everywhere he goes. He does not have help with the safety in the middle of the field. And there is, in fact, your number 2 releasing. And then you have Miguel Mitchell recognizing that he's going to stay shallow. I need to drop back. Is this on Miguel Mitchell? I don't know. Maybe he's supposed to be staying back, and he's not supposed to be looking at number 2. He's supposed to look at number 1. And if number 1 goes vertically, he's helping on number 1, right? I can't tell you the answer to this question. I can only tell you that what happens is you're the quarterback. Look at the safety. He's down low. He's flat-footed. You know you got a post. You can see above this is just a ton of this beautiful green grass off your screen that you know your receiver is running towards. All you need to do now is deliver a good ball behind a super clean pocket. Look at that pocket. Plenty of just beautiful pocket there to throw the ball from. And I mean, this is open. This is significantly open. That ball, unfortunately, is not going to land for Georgia. Fortunately for Florida, it is going to land. And there's Miguel Mitchell here. So again, what happened there? Hard to know. If it's Marshall, he just got cooked on a post route. If Marshall thinks he has help in Mitchell, perhaps Mitchell is playing the wrong technique, given what Florida was in based upon the motion. He's not supposed to be looking at the number 2. He's supposed to be number 1. I don't know. I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is it's a wide open Ladd McConkey, and Florida dodges a bullet. 3rd and 6, can Florida get another stop? Well, Florida's going to like to play zone here, and zone is just fine. Zone has benefits over man. You can look in the backfield. You can use your eye discipline to read the quarterback's eyes and step into the lane you want it to be in. It can also be bad because if you don't get the rules correct, depending on the releases of the receivers and a zone matching concept, which Florida is almost certainly in, you're going to leave somebody wide open. It's going to happen here. Jaden Hill is going to reroute any in-breaking route towards the inside, and then he is going to come underneath whatever route occurs over here to rob a curl, while we're going to stay on top of any route the number 1 receiver runs vertically. So he's going to be underneath the number 1. We're on top of the number 1, and that means we need to open up and see any under-breaking route here as our route that we then slide and cover, and then we then slide into here and cover. Upon watching the film roll, Jaden Hill does the right thing, going to reroute this, going to slide over here, going to guard this, and then we're not going to have Castell, again, a true freshman who's here. He's going to watch this and keep backpedaling, right? Kind of a safety habit. You're not used to playing down low in the box like this in this regard, playing pass coverage. You cannot just stay on top of this route. You got to stop this route. It's 3rd down and 6. You got to make contact, get in there. But more importantly, in zone, you got to look out for this route. Because if he's coming across you, you're going to pass that off to Shamar, who's in the next zone over. You can kind of imagine this looking like this, right? And they each have their own zones, and you got to make sure that you're covering your zone, and when it crosses over your zone into the other one, you want to make sure that your partner is aware of that. Instead, we're going to back way up off the ball. We're going to give you this throw here underneath. Carson Beck's going to take it. Okay, nice. You're going to sit that far off. I've got a really easy pitch and catch right here. 1st down to, of course, you guessed it, Ladd McConkey. All right, 1st down and 10 for Georgia. Florida going to slant again on this play. Going to try to get in front of these zone blockers, which we've seen Florida do very well versus zone blocking teams. Georgia's a little bit stronger, though. And as we slide in front and deny perhaps the initial window we want this run to go in, we are getting ourselves thrown, right, especially the D tackles, right, getting themselves thrown way out of the play. Look at where they wind up. They are just riding these guys to the sideline, which is textbook zone blocking. That is excellent zone blocking. That's what you want. You're going to wall off this part here. You're going to send these guys out here to the sideline. Then we're going to get vertical here. We're going to block on both the linebackers. I mean, that is excellent, excellent football. Really, really good zone blocking football right there. and that is going to lead to a very successful play for Georgia, where he does not even get touched until he's 12 yards down the field. Now for Florida, I think you'd like to see them get faster down here in the box, recognize this ball was handed off, get in here, right? Get into your gap, trust your gap, get into your gap. Instead, Florida a little late there, swallowed up by the lineman and off to the races. It's been too long since we've had an awesome Princely play, so now is that time. Here is Princely, top of your screen right here. And he is going to do this perfectly yet again. Watch him read the zone read. He does this so well. Come in, make sure you're running on a line where if he keeps this, you can still tackle him. Really important when you're playing that edge defender against the zone read, and he does that, right? Break down, look, coming in hot. Break down. Carson Beck thinks he's definitely going for the running back here. I'm going to take this ball. And then Princely says, no, you are not. Good move, by the way. I appreciate that move. But down you go. Princely with another solo tackle and excellent effort. 3rd down and 7. Will Florida get their second stop of the game in this game, down 26-7. Bunch set here. Georgia going to run a nice route combination out of this. Going to run a shallow cross here. Basically a skinny post right here off your screen. And then McConkey is going to run a dig. This is a nice concept. Carson Beck's going to open up and want to hit the home run, when in reality he should throw. Yep, there you go. He should have put that ball right on McConkey, who is wide open. He does not. Instead, he chooses to throw this ball to receiver downfield where Thornton is covering. And we're going to get a glimpse of this from a sort of tight sideline angle, but we do get to see what we're looking for right here, which is a couple of things. One, here is the route by McConkey. See you later. This is an issue with Jordan Castell, freshman playing zone. You know that you are in zone over here. You're underneath him. You want to stay under him. That's your goal. Problem is you think you know where he is, and then you turn around and you are drifting backwards, and he is moving this way, and you are dead, right? Dead. If that ball goes right here, it's going to be a walk-in touchdown. Instead, he does elect to throw this pass. And this is actually really good defending from, again, a guy I think who puts good stuff on film. 18 here, Bryce Thornton. His job is to wall this off from going over here. We want nothing over there. If we want to complete this pass, it's going to be somewhere in this tunnel. And he forces this to occur. And because of this, right here, he's on it. Chance to make a play, of course, on him, but he's there. And that's all good positioning by a freshman there in Thornton to wall that off. Do not let him cross your face and go around you where it's a much easier throw. Force that, though, to be difficult and get off the field. Florida gets their second stop of the game. Of course, they do dodge a bullet there with Ladd McConkey being wide open, but they get their second stop of the game, keeping Florida in it for now. Coming out of the locker room here, Georgia's adjustment is not to guard Princely. Leave him as the unblocked man on this play. It's a big mistake. He is so efficient moving down the line right now. I love what I see from his game. And then Sapp, a guy, again, who he said has really done good things for Florida, stepping into a position that's not really made for him, but doing a nice job there out on the end. And then he's going to knife through, and Princely, the unblocked man, catches him at the line of scrimmage, and they put him right down for a 2-yard gain. That's the kind of stuff you're looking for coming out of halftime, trying to keep your team in it. As Florida grows and emerges in the Coach Ham system, I'd certainly like to see them take a step forward in how they are playing zone defense. Again, this is not that easy for a young team to pick up, especially here. It's 2nd down and 9. You can't just play zone backing away off of every route that you see, right? As soon as he begins to stop, it's just like normal corner play. You're a linebacker, but you want to come forward and close this down. You have safeties above you on the vertical. Let's not just give them 9 yards, which is what we're going to do here. Scooby's going to backpedal, and then by the time this ball gets on him, he can't even touch him, right? That is poor. You want to be making contact here so you can separate the football. That's how close you want to be to defend this. Instead, he is going to miss that tackle, at least partially. That is going to lead to a 1st down for Georgia. 1st and 10, Jaden Hill again getting on the film for something nice. Like his physicality at nickel. Really like what he is putting on film. I think he is showing you he's a multi-tool defender. Again, one-on-one here, going to come in on this nickel blitz. Going to fit right into the run fit. Beat. Take a look at this. Beat the tight end. Get into the gap. I mean, this is really good stuff. Get into the gap, ruin the play, hold your line, hold the edge. Do not let him bounce it outside of you. Come in, wrap up, make a tackle. And that is awesome stuff. Like, that's got to be something you're celebrating in the film room when you're showing all the players. This is how you play football. Number 23 at nickel is taking on guards and tackles on a GT counter. He's coming in, taking on tight ends and beating them into the gap he's responsible for. He's holding the edge. And this guy's playing with a high motor right now, putting a lot of good stuff on film. 2nd and 9, put this play in the bin where you have the other plays that are good designs but don't work because of execution. Nickel, Jaden Hill, freshman safety Jordan Castell. Notice right away, Jaden Hill is walling him off to the inside. If he does come inside, you can see that he is waiting. Sorry about that. You can see that he is waiting. Castell is for this in-breaking route. He needs to stay on top of that route, applying pressure to the route. Unfortunately, ball gets thrown. That is not what happens. In fact, as this route comes here, Jaden Hill passes him off, then goes to Rob. The deep pass is coming over his head that you can't see right now on your screen. That's where he goes, and that allows Castell to take this route one-on-one. Now, Castell was sitting right here, and all he had to do was run with this route this way. Instead, as he backpedaled, he actually turned around the wrong way and then lost control of the route and where the ball was before finally making this tackle. So Florida's idea here is sound, right? Florida's attempting to wall this off to the inside, pass this off to an awaiting safety who is then going to keep this from crossing his face, meaning he's either going to immediately take a trail position and be right on the hip of this. He's going to deny any middle release at all, right? But he's certainly not going to turn around the wrong way, allowing this to be a very easy catch and then run. 3rd and 4, and 2 things are evident on this play. 1, Florida's corner blitz is nice. We've seen them do this before. They do have a good knack, Coach Ham does, of when to corner blitz. He's also taught his players well that when you come in on this corner blitz, you must deny the hot route, which most quarterbacks want to throw, is throw to the area that is being vacated quickly. That's your quick read out here. Florida likes to trap that by bringing a safety right behind it. So you think you have all this grass and you have nothing. Georgia, though, one-ups this with a really nice play design, putting their tight end on a simple hitch route right here, and he is completely unguarded. But Carson Beck sees the window dressing here of the corner coming and thinks, okay, I got this. All I have to do is play pitch and catch with this guy here. But he could have instead played pitch and catch with this guy here. That would have been easier, but Jason Marshall comes to the rescue by stopping all of that with a arm up in the throwing lane. Nice work there. When you're coaching corner blitz, you want to make sure your players eliminate that direct throw lane as much as possible. Make it hard on the quarterback because that will be the quickest and easiest answer to the corner blitz being brought in the first place. All right, 1st and 10, Georgia. Florida's gotten a few stops in a row now. Can they get another one? Georgia going to run a relatively simple concept here. Clear out route followed by an in-breaking route that snaps to the out-breaking route. Florida's scheme is perfect for this one, and yet this happens. How does this happen? We're going to get to look at this from Gary Danielson's view right here. There is the route we just drew on your screen. Here is Miguel Mitchell. His job here is to make sure that he keeps this route to the inside. The ref's kind of doing it. Hey, man, I'm going to reroute you over here. This slows the play down even more, but it's not going to matter. We've got help right here. Here's your inside safety. We want to funnel this stuff into here. Make sure it stays in here. Jason Marshall's going to get run off on this clear out. He's got to stay with it. Do not get beat onto this side because nobody is there to help you. He's down low. He's getting run off. Do not get beat over here. Miguel Mitchell, a guy who struggled in pass coverage mightily. I'd much rather, I think, just see 18 play all the snaps and Bryce Thornton figure stuff out because I don't know what 10's giving me right now. He's got to pick his game up on film review. But here we go. We're snapped off. Now we're in trouble. We're not going to get to this. This is going to be a very easy throw. I mean, just as easy as it gets right there on the face mask, off to the races. And that's just as, that's again, right here, you have to be on this side of him. You wait for this move to happen. If he goes this way, he's running into a safety. He doesn't have anywhere to go. Instead, we lose control, and there we go. So again, I think I've seen enough from 10 on film this year to know that pass coverage is not his strong suit. Teams know it as well. They are drawing up plays to target him whenever possible, and this one winds up being quite successful. 2 successful plays later, it's 3rd down and 7, and if you guess that Georgia feels like on another 3rd down and 6 or 7, despite the fact they're getting man here, there's a safety here. But they have man down here and no safety. They're like, hey, we like those odds. We're going right at Jason Marshall. Going to open up only look there, put the ball there, and not a great ball. Good coverage by Jason Marshall, though. Important here, we're outside the numbers. That means we should be covering how? How should we be covering? Inside leverage. We want to force him to go to the outside and use the sideline as a defender. Does Jason Marshall do this? Yes, he does. Perfect on top of the route. Squeeze the space down. Use the sideline as your help. Right here, we see he's blanketing him, making this catch as hard as possible. Then he gets his arm up right in here to make a play. That's perfect technique by number 3. That's what you want to see on film right there from your corner, supposed to be locking guys down. So nice play there, and Florida holds Georgia to a field goal, which in this game is a monumental success. On good football teams, your best players will respond. If they've been sat down for a series, if they're not playing well, if you're showing them film saying, look, you need to elevate your game. I'm not on you to make you feel down. I'm on you to dig deeper and play better with more focus, more detail, better play. I need you to raise your level of play. Perfect technique here from Jason Marshall. He's going to do a soft drop back. If we go vertical here, and there is no screen thrown, he's going to ride with this vertically, but that's not what happens. He's going to read this play here, eyes in the backfield. Now we know it's a screen. Now we do the right thing. Interior defender here, defender here. What Georgia's hoping happens is we bail quickly on this play, much like Kentucky often will. It's one reason why I like Coach Ham is we do not just bail out routinely. You hardly ever see us do that. It's one reason why we are very good on these east-west plays. And despite the fact that Georgia really couldn't get much out of them, of course, they still creased Florida in other ways, as you can see from this 7 yards per play stat. But on these plays, Florida handles it really, really well. I think this bodes well for Florida's future defensively in the long run. And here is Jason Marshall. Breakdown. We've talked about him not necessarily wanting to be a willing tackler. Break down, wrap up, and get the tackle. All right? Now, the flexing afterwards, this would feel really good if the score was not 29-7, but I love this play, 3. I love this play. It's what you want to put on film. That's what you're looking for, right? You want to put this kind of play on film, and then hopefully you're winning and you can celebrate it rather than having to be downtrodden because you're just trying to hang into the game and you can't really be too hyped. Either way, though, big-time play. It would, and you can be happy for yourself there, of course, right? But regardless, this is what you want to see from your corner. Good technique, good coaching, good play, good setup, and Florida, again, continues to excel largely at stopping these east-west passing plays. All right, thanks to that nice Jason Marshall tackle. Let's see what happens here on this one. Another corner blitz again, IDing right away an RPO from Georgia. RPOs are good because you can take advantage of these situations. Safety coming downhill on 2nd and 11. I love these concepts from Coach Ham. If you can make tackles here, the best they maybe get is 4 or 5 yards. You also get chances for pick sixes, tipped passes, a bunch of other things. And here we are, Jason Marshall right in the throw lane. Stop at the exact right time, get up in the air, make this throw very hard. He does it again. We're 2 for 2 on balls he's batting down. And that is fantastic, right? And I like this celebration right here. This is nice. You're down 29-7. You're still in the game. High five a teammate. Let's vibe with it, right? Let's get it going. You're playing well right here. Look, Florida's defense has a lot of energy still at this stage. I like to see that. Florida's team never really quits despite the score oftentimes getting lopsided against them. I like to see that culture-wise. But I like to see the X's and O's of some of the scheme we're seeing here. Again, I think this stuff's repeatable in the long run. I really, really like seeing, though, that 3 was able to pull himself off the mat after, I think, a really difficult first half and make some really nice plays here in the second half. 3rd and 11, Georgia 3-by-1. 3-by-1 right here. This is a really nice route concept by Georgia. Everyone on this channel knows I love these kind of rub routes if you're getting man. It's exactly what Georgia gets, and this is a excellent, excellent concept. I'll rewind it here for in a second. Lab McConkey is going to be the first out, but he's going to come here and then break in at the precise moment that this route is going to go right past him on a go, leading Jaden Hill to become a wake blocker, if you will, and then make it really, really difficult for Kimber to get over on this play. Here it is, going to go off your screen. We finally get pressure and move him off the spot. Carson Beck sets up and makes, I think this is his best throw of the game, personally. This throw is under duress. It's 3rd and 11. Florida's fighting to try to stay relevant, at least. But regardless, guy in his face, moving to his left, sets his feet, throws an absolute dime. I mean, this is a sick play. If I showed you what this looked like right now, it's covered. You don't even see anything yet. Like, there's no way that's happening. But he knows the route combo. He saw that Jaden Hill was still running this way. He saw Kimber was pinned over here. He knew Ladd McConkey was going to be the only one who could shoot out here. And unfortunately for Florida, Bryce Thornton, I think a year from now, probably makes a play on this ball. Potentially picks it off. He's the guy who can make a play. He winds up tripping, taking a little bit of a wrong angle on this ball, but I think in the future he's going to make a play on that ball as he sees more reps, and instead he actually winds up taking out Kimber some, and then Ladd McConkey makes a move on Kimber, and then we're flying down the field, and then there is TJ Searcy. Again, you hate this result, right? Florida's not competitive with Georgia in this football game, but this is a defensive lineman who's a freshman, who comes 40 yards down the field and makes a tackle. There's a lot of pride this defense is still playing with despite getting hammered. That's a good thing. All right, here's a second look at the play we just talked about and the route combination that you're going to see coming off the left of your screen and just how good of a throw this is from Carson Beck, right here in his face, right? Princely bearing down on him. And what do you see if you're the quarterback? You know you have man. Here's your safety. Here's your free player in Bryce Thornton. And you know that this is being run off here where you could, and he could have taken a shot on this one for sure, right? Right now you know Jaden Hill's trailing. You could take a shot at this ball, but you're under duress. So you don't have time for that. You know Ladd has inside leverage, and he's coming here on a corner who's outside of him. As long as you make a good ball, this is not going to be a win. Not to mention, you know you got traffic. They time this up so well. Look at Ladd McConkey's timing of this route. Right underneath, we talked about this on Florida, some of you, right underneath the trailing wake of his receiver, right there. He's going in between. I mean, look how good this is. He goes in between his guy and Jaden Hill. I mean, that is an incredibly perfectly timed play. No chance you're stopping that. Ball is perfect. Here comes Bryce, right? Bryce kind of gets turf monstered. I mean, right here you can see it's happening. He might be able to make a play on this, kind of gets eaten down, doesn't have the right angle on it, and we're off to the races. But that is, I mean, look at this right here. This is just so good. The timing here by Georgia all the way down the field, this precise. This is what championship teams look like, by the way, this precise in their route combination. And then there you go. Great ball. Big chunk play. I think, again, Carson Beck's best play of the game. I think the best play of the game, probably in general by either team, based upon what that looked like and the duress that Carson Beck was under, timing of the route combination, spacing, ball placement, etc. A really nice play. Florida in the right defense there. They have a chance to make that play. They have a safety who's there, available to help, but once again, just can't quite come up with the play. 3rd and 4. This one, not a great look here by Kimber. He's man-to-man. You want to have inside leverage here. You're at the numbers. Let him go to the outside, but you got to make sure that you get into his kitchen when he makes this move past you, and we get thrown off balance significantly right there. Look, we're thrown way off balance. We're falling backwards. We do not have a crossbody jam, which is ideally what we want here to slow his momentum down and stall the route, crossbody ideally, and we're not, right? We're going this way. He's going this way. We've already lost. It's already over. If I'm playing quarterback, I know for sure I have this throw. There's no way he can get there. This is a layup, a proverbial layup, a nice move. And again, if you're Kimber, you just can't have that right there. Not like this. I mean, that is beat badly, and a perfect ball from Carson Beck in the window there. And that's why it's so important here as a corner. If you're Kimber, you can't have this happen. And again, part of the problem is he's jumping, right? He's jumping to the outside here because he does have help to the inside. And so if you want to make sure that you're going to keep this route moving into the interior, you just stay to the outside. Any inside release is not going to hurt you. And if you're going to play outside release, because at the numbers and you say, look, I'll let him go to the outside, then you need to make sure that your momentum carries into his body when he turns to the outside so you can reroute him and slow this timing down. Neither of those things happen. All we basically get is a move where he's beat, he turns his head around, and now your help defender is here to help you, can't help you, because you played outside release, but you did not get any rerouting going on, and your guy inside can't help. So again, multiple ways you could have stopped this. 1, make sure you stay to the outside, reroute to the inside. Or 2, if you play outside, you play inside leverage and you let him outside, you have to get into him here as he's at the break of his route. Again, crossbody jam, put your body into him, make sure you reroute him some. You got to do something to make sure that you are in his kitchen when we're turning the field right around there. Does not happen. That leads to a touchdown for Georgia and just an exclamation point on an already excellent day for the Bulldogs. And just for the sake of completion, Georgia on a 9-play, soon to be a 10-play drive for 75 yards and a touchdown. Just a little inside zone run here after Florida stopped him twice. Going to wind up powering his way into the end zone. Let's see if we can make this work correctly here. Powering his way into the end zone. There you go. And second, third, fourth, fifth effort gets in there. An exclamation point from Georgia right here. There is Kirby Smart, the leader of a team that has now won 35 games in a row, 6 of 7 versus the Gators, and is on a general tear, of course, as any Florida alum and fan would tell you. We don't like Georgia. I don't like Georgia. But I do love football, and I love what Kirby's built at Georgia. I think it's really hard for a Florida team to match up with Georgia right now since we play a very similar style. So much of what Billy Napier wants to do is what Kirby is doing. And Kirby has a significant head start talent-wise on where Florida is, and that's why talent acquisition is the most important for this team to do on both sides of the football. But make no mistake about it, this was a disappointing day for the Gators. Teams had played close with Georgia this season. Florida did not. Florida was not competitive. They were a walkover in this game, and that has got to leave the coaches frustrated. It leaves me frustrated. But hopefully this film review led you to see what went wrong in some of the areas of this game for Florida. I will allow you to make, of course, your own decisions as to who you think is to blame or what you think is right, wrong, or indifferent. As for me, I do think that Coach Ham's future is bright. I think there will be bumps along the way. I kind of view Florida's defense like a top baseball prospect who's in the bigs for the first time and has got to work out some things in his game. But when the right pieces are there and there's enough tools in the toolkit, I think things are going to be solid for this defense. But as of now, it will be bumpy from game to game. There will be issues. There will be challenges with physicality, with talent. Of course, Florida will not play another team as talented as Georgia for the rest of the year. So we'll see how that goes. But we'll hope that Florida keeps learning lessons. And there was evidence on this film that I hope you saw that Florida has picked up on previous issues from previous games and has cleaned some of those things up. And that does give me hope that Florida will keep learning from the film this season, even if, again, things get rocky into the future. But either way, super disappointing day for the defense. A rough film watch, I'm sure, for the entire team, and a rough film watch for me. But it's important to watch these films so you can learn what is going wrong. And most importantly, when things do go right again for Florida, if you've invested any time in the team when things were not well, it'll feel that much better when things are good, whenever that may be. As always, I hope you enjoyed this film review, and I look forward to being with you next week when I break down the Arkansas game. As always, I'm James from the Gator Nation Football Podcast. Go Gators.